Before starting my presentation, I'd like to express my thanks for inviting me as a speaker today. My presentation title is South Korea's Carbon Neutrality Policy and CCUS Technology Development Status. I do hope this presentation will be helpful for you to enlarge your understanding on Korea's efforts for carbon emission reduction. I'll start with Korea's policy for carbon neutrality. After that, I'll talk about the role of CCUS for carbon neutrality. And then I'll briefly show you CCUS development status in Korea. Finally, I'll summarize my presentation. So I'll get started with Korea's policy for carbon neutrality. Korea is importing more than 94% of its energy use from other countries because fossil fuel resources is few in Korea. Korea's primary energy consumption is around 300 million TOE, depending mainly on fossil fuels. As a result of a huge amount of fossil fuel use, Korea's greenhouse gas emission reached 728 million tons CO2 in 2018 and recorded world's seventh biggest CO2 emitter. Under the pressure of carbon emission reduction at home and abroad, President Moon declared Korea's carbon neutrality by 2050 to join and contribute to the global efforts for climate change mitigation. After the declaration, 3 subsequent policies were adopted in the government and announced. First one is 2050 Carbon Neutrality Strategy. This is a roadmap to go to net zero by 2050. Second one is Korea's NDC submitted to UN. In this document, national greenhouse gas emission reduction target by 2030 was suggested. Third one is Korea's LEDS, submitted to UN. This is a strategy to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. I'd like to explain a little more for each policy. 2050 Carbon Neutrality Strategy pursues proactive action to achieve net zero society, economic growth, and quality of citizens' life simultaneously. 3+1 specific strategies were suggested to reach this vision. 3 main strategies are transforming economic structure to a low-carbon economy, creating a low-carbon industrial ecosystem led by new technology, and moving fairly to a carbon neutrality society. Under each strategy, 3 or 4 projects were framed in detail. In addition to 3 strategies, building a system supporting carbon neutral policies was suggested as a +1 strategy. This includes financing to implement the policies. In the Korea's new NDC, the greenhouse gas reduction target was set as 536 million tons CO2 in 2030. This is 24 points less than the emission in 2017. Although the final emission is the same with first NDC. Government told that more clear target and updated implementation plan were presented. This graph shows how much each sector have to fulfill emission reduction duties under new NDC. New NDC adopted absolute reduction instead of previous BAU-based reduction, and the share of domestic reduction increased. It also specified that more ambitious target will be announced before 2025. The new reduction target was legislated by amending enforcement decree. To adapt new NDC, third National Climate Change Adaptation Plan was established. Korea Adaptation Center for Climate Change is supporting the adaptation policy through the research based on science. Local government also have to make and fulfill legally its own adaptation planning. To implement new NDC, government incorporated updated target into second basic plan for climate change response, and three strategies: transition to a low-carbon society, establishment of a robust adaptation system, and enhancement of climate change response framework were made in this plan. Korea has been running emission trading scheme since 2015. In the third phase, ETS started this year. Transportation and construction emissions were additionally included, and the coverage rate among the total national emission increased to 73.5% from previous 70.2%. Korean Green New Deal policy, announced last year, also support NDC target achievement. Around $73 billion will be invested to practice the Green New Deal. Main themes of the Green New Deal are green infrastructure, low carbon and decentralized energy, and innovation toward green industries. In Green New Deal made last year, there was no target date for Netzero society, but in LEDS opened this year, target date was fixed to 2050. The vision of 2050 LEDS is Korea moves toward the goal of carbon neutrality by 2050, and 5 key elements to realize this vision were suggested as follows. First, expanding the use of clean power and hydrogen across all sectors. Second, improving energy efficiency to a significant level. Third, commercial deployment of carbon removal and other future technologies. Fourth, scaling up the circular economy to improve industrial sustainability. 5. Enhancing carbon sinks. Strategies in 7 sectors and innovation of 3 implementation bases were established in detail. Next, I'll move to role of CCUS for carbon neutrality. I think most of you already know what CCS is. CCS is a process that captures CO2 from the gas streams before release into the atmosphere and stores the captured CO2 underground after compression and transportation. In the Sustainable Development Scenario of IEA ETP 2020, the rate of cumulative emission reduction contribution of CCUS is required to be 15% to get to Paris target. In the past innovation case scenario, to achieve net zero in 2050, CCUS contribution among additional 10 gigaton CO2 reduction is around 25% to go from SDS scenario to FIC scenario. In power sector, most fossil fuel power plants should be operated with CCUS, and power generation by NG with CCUS is higher than that of coal with CCUS in 2070. IEA estimated that cumulative reduction by CCUS in power sector is required up to 87.5 gigaton CO2 by 2070, and the role of bioenergy CCUS will increase greatly between 2050 and 2070. Currently, 62% of South Korea's power is produced from fossil fuels. The government planned to reduce fossil fuel-based power generation through disapproval of new coal power plants, fuel change from coal to LNG, and increase of renewable energy facility. But nonetheless, the power generation by fossil fuel is still planned to be half of total electricity supply in 2030. So, CCUS development and use is essential in Korea to achieve national emission reduction target. Korean government has constantly promoted CCUS by reflecting it in the government policies such as National CCS Master Plan, Green Growth Plan, NDC, Green New Deal, and LEDS. And the government is supporting CCUS technology development through various research programs. From now on, I'll explain the development status of representative CCUS technologies in Korea. The first technology is post-combustion waste scrubbing CO2 capture. It is the most advanced technology among several capture technologies for commercialization. Already, a lot of capture facilities using this technology are commercially operated globally. In this technology, CO2 in the flue gases is selectively captured in the aqueous amine solutions and emitted by heating the solution with steam. KECO is leading waste scrubbing capture technology development in Korea. KECO has developed a series of advanced amine absorbent. With this absorbent, KECO is developing an optimized capture process with high efficiency and low energy cost. When scrubbing technology development was started in year 2000 at LNG power plant in a scale of 0.1 MW. It was scaled up to 10 MW at coal power plant in 2013. The 10 MW pilot plant erected in Boryong coal-fired power plant, it can capture 200 tons CO2 a day. KECO completed 10,000 hours test run successfully last year with the COSOL 6 absorbent. During the test run, CO2 removal rate was above 90%, and the purity of the captured CO2 is above 99.9%. The regeneration energy of the absorbent was 2.3 gigajoule per ton CO2. This is world top level value. Next technology is chemical looping combustion captures. We call it CLC technology. In this technology, fuel is combusted with pure oxygen contained in the solid particle called oxygen carrier. When the fuel contacts with oxygen carrier in the fuel reactor, oxygen of metal oxide in the oxygen carrier transferred to fuel, and the fuel combustion occurs. As a result of the reaction, only CO2 and water vapor are emitted. Therefore, pure CO2 can be obtained by removing water vapor after condensation of the flue gases. The reduced oxygen carrier is sent to connected reactor called the air reactor for regeneration. In the air reactor, oxygen carrier contacts with air and regenerated to oxidation state by receiving oxygen from air, and is sent again to fuel reactor for fuel combustion. Using the process heat, we can produce steam or electricity. Due to the feature of internal CO2 capture through oxygen combustion, using metal oxide, this technology don't need a high-cost capture facility and air separation unit. NOx emission is also very low. Therefore, the NOx facility is also unnecessary. And CLC can be applicable in various sizes to industry and power generation. KECO has developed world's best oxygen carrier and tested it sub-megawatt bench scale. Through 200 hours continuous autothermal operation, we achieved pure conversion and CO2 purity above 99%. This is world's best and longest performance test result. Based on these results, KECO started 3 MW thermal process development. This plant will be world's biggest and first CLC steam generation unit. KECO is planning to demonstrate 10 to 30 MW scale CLC power plant if current 30 MW plant development is successfully completed. Now, I'd like to talk about CO2 storage demonstration status in Korea. Small-scale storage demonstration was preceded, and medium-scale storage demonstration is currently in preparation. The small-scale offshore storage demonstration was carried out in Pohang Beijing of Korea's East Sea. More than 20,000 tons of CO2 was successfully injected until now. Medium-scale demonstration project injecting 0.4 million tons CO2 per year will be started this year. The storage site is a depleted gas reservoir in the East Sea of Korea. For large-scale storage demonstration, Korean research team began site search this year. 3 offshore basins around the Korean peninsula are candidate sites. I'll move to CO2 utilization technology. KECO is developing CO2 methanation technology. In this technology, CO2 is react with CO2 reacts with hydrogen to produce methane. Hydrogen is supplied by water electrolysis using unused renewable electricity. KECO found new bacteria which can effectively produce methane from CO2 and hydrogen. And a bench-scale plant converting 100 kg of CO2 a day was erected and operated successfully. We are planning to scale up this process for 2 MW integrated power-to-gas demonstration by connecting it to the renewable energy. The last technology is CO2 dry reforming. Korea Research Institute of Chemical Technology is developing carbon dioxide methane dry reforming to produce syngas, which is composed of carbon monoxide and hydrogen. Syngas is a platform chemical to produce other chemicals. The catalyst and reforming process has been developed in a bench scale. Pilot plant converting 20 tons CO2 a day is currently under construction. Now, I'd like to finish my presentation with summarizing my talks. Korea declared carbon neutrality by 2050. This vision requires drastic change in energy transition, industrial ecosystem, and social infrastructure. Korean government is leading and supporting the change heading for carbon neutrality society. Korea's new NDC strengthened GHG emission reduction target through base change to absolute reduction target, increased share of domestic reduction, and legislation of the target. CCUS is essential technology to achieve the goal of Paris Agreement globally and the goal of Korea's NDC and 25 carbon neutrality. A variety of CCUS technologies are ongoing in Korea to contribute to the national goal. Many of the technologies are at the stage of scale-up for large-scale demonstration and commercialization. Some of them, like waste scrubbing post-combustion CO2 capture and chemical looping combustion, are world-class. Thank you for your attention.